Biodiversity Convention were adopted too. That was a very high point in the environmental movement. And 20 years have gone by, and there's going to be, in this 20th anniversary, a discussion of what happened in these 20 years. Did things work out? Do we have to do more? And so on and so forth. And people are preparing for that. Many groups around the world are preparing for that. This is a United Nations conference. And in preparation for that, a group of laureates from the Blue Planet Prize. The Blue Planet Prize is a large prize that's given out by a Japanese foundation. It's a sort of, it's considered the Nobel Prize for Environment, because the Nobel Prize from Sweden does not have the category of environment. So the Japanese took over and they give this prize every year. It started in '92. So by now, there are about 20 laureates, because they give the prize for a person every year, 1 or 2 persons every year, about 20. So they invited these laureates to a meeting in London, which took place a few weeks ago. And we prepared a, what you call a manifesto, a paper, in which we argue that we cannot go in the direction we are going because of the problems that we're going to face. And it's not only energy, it's population, because population is growing, and a number of other things, And one of the suggestions that was made is that GDP is not a good measure of progress, of development, Actually, in a way, it's a perverse method of measuring development, because it only measures financial, economic transactions, So if you cut a forest, for example, and use the products to sell the wood, to sell the trees, you are increasing the GDP, but you are destroying the forest, So GDP does not capture that, So we make a plea that GDP be redefined to become sort of a green GDP. So it would include the gains that you have, and then the losses that you are having to the environment. And that is an important. I think it's actually a very important proposal, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting. And as far as that kind of meeting goes on climate change, which are the countries that make it difficult to get an agreement? Because there are a lot of countries that are cooperating.
Yes, two. China and the United States. Unfortunately, I think actually the United States is improving, and China is improving too. So people have the expectations that you see, presently, if you look at the world, 50% of the emissions come from two countries only, China and the United States. Each one emits approximately 25%. And China emits more than the United States. In 1992, 20 years ago, when the Climate Convention was signed, China was insignificant, was not important. I think that's why people didn't pay too much attention. And the United States was blamed as the villain, Well, now the United States is not the villain anymore. China is the villain. And these two countries have to come to terms, And President Obama introduced legislation which was approved in the lower chamber, as is well known, but it was not approved in the Senate. And we'll see what happens in the next few years. But again, climate change is happening today, and pretty soon people will realize that they should have been doing something about it earlier, because it will be more costly to do it afterwards.